I'm Ashley, an 18-year-old university student from Florida. Life has been quite a ride for me. My parents divorced when I was just 13 years old, and since then, I've been living with my mom. Last year, I faced a huge loss when my father passed away from cancer. Losing him was incredibly hard for me because we were very close. I still remember the times we shared, the stories he told, and the lessons he taught me. Before he passed, he left me a significant amount of money in his will, which I could only access once I turned 18. Well, that day finally arrived this year, and I was excited about what it might mean for my future. Little did I know that something unexpected and crazy was about to happen, something I still can't quite wrap my head around. One afternoon, my stepdad, Kevin, who is in his mid-40s and has been married to my mom for 5 years, called me into his room. I felt a mix of emotions when I heard his voice. We've never really had the best relationship, but I always tried to be civil with him. Unfortunately, he didn't always return that courtesy. "Hey, Ashley, I need to talk to you about something important," he said. My heart sank a little. I could sense that whatever he wanted to discuss wasn't going to be good news. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He took a deep breath and brought up the money my dad left me. "I think you should give it to your stepbrother Jason. He needs it for his college education." I was taken aback by his request. "Wait, what? You want me to give away my inheritance to Jason? He wants to go to university just like me, but I can't believe you're asking me to just hand over my dad's money." Kevin seemed unfazed by my shock. "Ashley, don't be silly. You don't need that money, and even if you do, Jason needs it more than you do." "I'm sorry, Kevin, but the answer is no," I replied firmly. I could feel my heart racing. He didn't take my refusal well. "Don't push me, Ashley," he warned, his tone sharp and demanding. "Calm down, Kevin. There's no need to get angry. I answered your question honestly," I said, trying to keep the peace. "Saying no isn't meant to disrespect you. It's about setting boundaries. I'm standing my ground here. If you're getting mad because I said no, maybe you need to think about your attitude." I could feel the tension in the air, thick and uncomfortable. "Don't forget you're a guest in this house too, so let's try to be civil," I added, hoping to diffuse the situation. "Well, I don't think that's going to happen. Goodbye," I said before he could say anything else. I turned away from him, my heart pounding. Honestly, I wasn't surprised by Kevin's behavior. He had a history of acting entitled, and I knew that he would eventually ask me for the money. You might be wondering where my mom was during all of this. Well, that's another story. My mom, Julie, didn't seem to see any of Kevin's flaws. No matter what he did, she stood by him as if she were under some sort of spell. It was strange because I knew she loved me, but I didn't want to ruin her perception of him, so I did my best to get along with Kevin for her sake. It was ironic how, even though I was one of the youngest people in the house, I often found myself acting the most mature at that time. My mom was out of town, which was why she wasn't here to intervene. If she had been home, I was sure she would have been furious about Kevin's request. That was why he felt like he could boss me around. He thought he could manipulate me because my mom wasn't around. But little did he know, I was onto his sneaky plans. As I walked out of the room, I could hear Kevin following me, scolding me, and calling me a bad sister for not wanting to give money to Jason. But that wasn't true at all. I genuinely wanted to help Jason, but I didn't want to be used as a financial crutch. I wasn't responsible for his choices or his future. The saying, like father, like son, definitely applied to both Jason and Kevin. They were troublemakers who schemed together like Pinky and the Brain, though I still couldn't decide which one was which. "Hey, don't walk away while I'm talking to you," Kevin shouted after me. "You need to listen and do what's right." "Can you give me a good reason for that?" I shot back, my frustration boiling over. "What's happening with you two?" he replied, his voice rising. "Your arguing woke me up. Jason, tell Ashley about what we talked about earlier." Jason appeared, looking a little sheepish. "Sure, what was it again?" He seemed unsure, which made me suspicious. "Oh, right, the inheritance money," he said suddenly, sounding more confident. "Yeah, Ashley, Dad, and I were talking, and we demand this money because of that important thing we talked about." "What important thing?" I asked, my heart racing. You mean the business, right? What business? I asked, confused. You said this money was for my university tuition. I felt a rush of emotions: anger, confusion, and disbelief. They were trying to pressure me into giving up what was rightfully mine. This wasn't just about the money, it was about respect and standing up for myself. Ashley, Jason continued, we're family. We need to help each other out. College is expensive, and I don't want to burden Mom with the costs. If you could just be a little generous. I interrupted him. Generous? You want me to give you my dad's hard-earned money because you think it's easier for me to part with it? That's not how this works, Jason. I have plans for that money. It's not just sitting there for anyone to take. Kevin chimed in. Ashley, think about how much we're all struggling. We're family, and family helps each other, right? I shook my head, feeling overwhelmed. Family doesn't just take without giving back, Kevin. I'm not a cash machine. I don't owe you or Jason anything. As I stood there, I realized how much I needed to assert myself. I had grown up watching my dad fight for what he believed in, and I wanted to honor his memory by standing my ground now. I wasn't about to let Kevin or Jason walk all over me. The tension in the air felt thick enough to cut with a knife. I took a deep breath and tried to find my calm amidst the chaos. Listen, I understand that college is important and I genuinely want the best for you both. But I have my own future to think about, and I can't sacrifice my own plans for you, Kevin. Looked taken aback, his mouth hanging open slightly. Jason shifted uncomfortably next to him. I pressed on, feeling more empowered. I'm not saying I won't help out in the future, but right now, I need to focus on my own education and plans. I hope you can understand that. I knew this wasn't going to be easy, but I had to be true to myself and my dad's legacy. Kevin and Jason could be upset, but I was done being their scapegoat. I deserved to have my own dreams, and I would fight for them. With that, I turned and walked away, my heart racing but my head held high. I didn't look back. Kevin's voice echoed in my ears as I replayed our earlier conversation. Yeah, that's because that's what it's for, right? He said, his tone sharp. Jason chimed in, trying to act enthusiastic. Yes, yes, yes. I completely forgot. I just woke up, you know? Yes, it's for university. I demand the money for myself. Thanks. His response felt disingenuous, almost rehearsed, and I couldn't help but roll my eyes at their antics. That's a cute attempt, Jason, but it's still not happening. The answer is no, I said firmly, standing my ground. Why not, Ashley? Kevin pressed, his voice tinged with annoyance. He knew what he wanted, and this wasn't up for discussion. I crossed my arms, feeling the tension between us tighten. We'll see about that, I replied, not backing down. The rest of the evening was filled with an uneasy silence, the air thick with unspoken words. Kevin was known for his silly pranks and attempts to get under my skin, but this new effort to annoy me was different. It felt more serious, almost desperate. I began to realize just how immature and selfish he really was. I didn't want to tell my mom about it just yet. I wanted to handle things on my own, especially after I overheard that strange conversation earlier. Ashley, stop playing around. You need to be a grown-up and do the right thing, Kevin insisted, his voice rising. And the right thing is giving away my money? I shot back incredulously. Are you okay, Kevin? Just wait until I tell Mom, I threatened, feeling a surge of determination. Don't tell Julie anything, he replied, his tone darkening. Why not? She's my mom. She deserves to know how I'm being treated. I couldn't believe his audacity. You think she cares? Kevin replied, shrugging as if my concerns were trivial. Listen, I'm just trying to help you. If you bring this up to her, she'll get upset at you for wasting her time and being selfish. Well, that's a risk I'm willing to take, I said defiantly. I'm warning you. Don't tell your mother, he said, his angry tone surprising me. I had never seen him so worked up over something like this before. It felt like he was hiding something big, especially regarding that business idea Jason had let slip. They both seemed to think I was too naive to catch on, but I was determined to uncover whatever sneaky plans they had. Once I had the chance, I called my mom. Hey Mom, how are you doing? I'm good. Baby, how about you? She replied cheerfully. Not very well, Mom. Something feels off with Kevin and Jason, especially Kevin. He's acting weirder than usual. Oh, Ashley, don't be paranoid. I know you don't really like him, but he's not weird. I felt my frustration grow. Mom, he asked me for the inheritance money.
What? Really?
He wouldn't do that, she said, disbelief evident in her voice. He actually demanded it from me, both him and Jason. That's not true. He wouldn't do that, she insisted, clearly in denial. I took a deep breath, trying to remain calm. I know you love him, Mom, for whatever reason, but this is true. He said it was for Jason's education, but I think something fishy is going on. He even got aggressive when I told him I'd tell you what he said to me. I don't know, baby. I just feel like I need more proof, she replied hesitantly. Don't worry, I'll get all the proof you need. Just wait and see, I assured her, feeling more determined than ever. Even though my mom wasn't ready to fully believe me yet, I knew I had to keep my eyes open. I felt as if that man had put a spell on her, clouding her judgment. I was still determined to figure out what was going on with Kevin and Jason. That night, I couldn't sleep. I went to the family computer hoping to find something, anything, that could help me understand what Kevin was up to. As I logged in, I noticed something strange. It seemed Kevin had forgotten to log out of his email account. That was a big mistake on his part. As I started to sift through the emails, my heart raced. What I found shocked me to my core. Kevin had been sending emails to a woman named Helen. The contents weren't nice at all. They were flirtatious and seemed quite inappropriate. My gut twisted. Was he having an affair? I quickly took notes on what I found, but the next email I opened was even crazier. It talked about Kevin's plan to divorce my mom and run away with this Helen woman. They mentioned getting a lot of money soon from some business venture, but from what I read, it seemed shady at best. Kevin wasn't dumb enough to put anything illegal in his emails, but he was reckless enough to have an affair and forget to log out of his account. I knew I needed to gather more information. Maybe I could get something out of Jason. He seemed less guarded than Kevin, and I figured he might slip up if I played my cards right. So, the next day, I approached Jason, hoping to dig deeper into their plans. Hey, Jason. I greeted him casually. Hello, Ashley. You seem happy today, he said, smiling. Why not? It's a beautiful day. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for him. I have some questions for you, I said, my voice turning serious. I've been thinking about what you and Kevin said, and I'm actually considering giving you the money. Really? That's great. I'll let him know, Jason replied eagerly. Not so fast, I interrupted, holding up a hand. Before I give you this money, I need to know it's for your college, right? Oh yeah, right, my college tuition, he stammered, his confidence faltering. Yes, I'm very serious, Jason insisted, but his eyes darted nervously. And what about Helen? Is she serious? I pressed, wanting to see how he would react. Helen? Who's Helen? He asked, his confusion evident. Oh, she's, a student advisor for the college, I replied, watching his face closely. Just then, I heard footsteps, and my heart sank. Kevin had come into the room, and I could feel the tension spike. I don't appreciate you interrogating my son, he said, his voice low and threatening. I wasn't doing that. I was just asking how my money would be used, I replied defensively. Well, once you give someone money, it's not yours anymore, so it's not your business, he shot back, his tone dismissive. Is that any way to speak to someone who's thinking of giving you money? I retorted, trying to keep my voice steady. You're not thinking, you're giving me that money. If you don't, I'll kick you out, Kevin threatened, and I was stunned into silence. Dad, this wasn't part of the deal, Jason said, looking shocked. Shut up, I'm the parent and I make the rules. If you don't give me that inheritance money, you can leave, Kevin barked. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I had caught them in their web of deceit. Little did Kevin know, I was still recording this entire conversation. I walked out of the room, shooting Kevin an angry look, and locked myself in my bedroom, my heart pounding in my chest. I had evidence now, proof that Kevin was trying to manipulate me and use my inheritance for his own gain. I wasn't going to let him get away with this. I would show my mom everything, and finally, To put an end to Kevin's plans, I took a deep breath and knew I had to stay strong. I wouldn't let them intimidate me anymore. I started gathering all the evidence I could find against Kevin. It felt a bit like those detectives on TV, piecing together clues and pinning them up on a wall. I had voice recordings, screenshots of his conversations with Helen, and every little detail I could think of. I was preparing myself for the storm that was about to come. After collecting everything, I called my mom. "Hello, Mom," I said. "Hey, love. How are you?" she replied, her voice bright. "Mom, are you sitting down?" I asked, feeling the weight of what I was about to say.
Why?
"What's wrong?" she responded. "I'm afraid I have some really bad news to share, and you won't like it," I said. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves as I began to recount everything I had discovered about Kevin and Jason. My mom kept denying it, her disbelief palpable. "He wouldn't do that," she insisted, shaking her head. Finally, I played the audio recording I had made earlier. I watched as her expression shifted, her eyes widening in shock. "Why would he say those things to you? Why would he do that to me? Why would he be so cruel?" she asked. "Because he's a bad man, Mom. I'm sorry to say it, but you married a monster," I said. "This is just terrible. I can't believe I left you alone with those two sickos," she exclaimed. "Absolutely not. I'm coming home right now." "Mom, stay where you are. Have you locked your doors?" I asked, my heart racing. "Yes, ma'am," she replied. "I'm going to ruin that man and make sure he never shows his face in public again. When I'm done with him, he'll wish he never married me." "That's the spirit, Mom. Now hurry up and get home. We need to make a plan." My mom arrived several hours later, coming straight to my room. When she saw me, we embraced tightly, tears flowing as we hugged. We cried for what felt like hours, the weight of the situation pressing down on us. I could tell that this news was tough for her to hear, but I was relieved to see her in the angry stage. It motivated her to take action. We talked for hours, our conversation a mix of plans, fears, and hopes. By the end of the night, we had a solid plan. Kevin wouldn't know what hit him. Several days passed, and Kevin couldn't figure out why my mom had come home early from her work trip or why she was ignoring him. He acted cheerful, almost too happy, as if he was trying to convince her of his innocence. However, my mom saw through his act, her resolve strengthening. She was ready to kick him out. After I showed her the suspicious messages about his supposed business, she decided to hire a private investigator. My mom felt strongly that the money wasn't going to be used for any legal purposes, which infuriated her. How could a parent be so cruel and scheming? She knew we couldn't handle this situation on our own. When the private investigator shared his findings with my mom, she looked stunned. "I'm speechless," she said. "What did the investigator find?" I asked eagerly. "Well, it turns out he's planning to use a laundromat for money laundering," she said, her voice filled with disbelief. "It's an old trick."
Wow.
"That's not all, is it?" I pressed, my curiosity piqued. "No, it's not," she continued. "This woman, Helen, who he's cheating on me with, she has a criminal record for drug-related activities. She's been arrested multiple times for conspiracy to sell illegal substances. So it wouldn't be surprising if their business involves drugs too." That's unbelievable. I would have never expected this. I feel like a veil has been lifted from my eyes. Now I can see that the man I married isn't a man at all, but a sick and twisted person. "When are we going to confront him, Mom?" I asked, adrenaline surging through me. "Right now. Follow my lead," she instructed, determination flashing in her eyes. "Wait, let me grab my camera." We made our way to the living room, where we found Jason and Kevin huddled together, discussing their shady business plans. I felt a rush of anticipation as we prepared to confront them. "Then we'll have to use this as a cover for our business," Kevin was saying, his voice low. "It's all going to be hidden. Just act like you don't know, and serve the customers." "Okay, but what about?" "Oh, hey, everyone. We're just finalizing stuff for Jason's college application," my mom interrupted, stepping into the room with confidence. "Cut the act, Kevin. The game is we know everything," I declared, my voice steady. Kevin's facade began to crack. "Your innocent act won't work anymore," I added, feeling empowered. Smile for the camera, my mom added, holding her phone up to record. Get that out of my face, you spoiled brat. Kevin snapped, his irritation boiling over. I mean, Ashley, we know everything, Kevin. Do you know how many years you'd spend in jail for planning these crimes? I challenged him. I don't know what you're talking about, he said, trying to feign ignorance. Well, maybe we should call Helen and see what she has to say, my mom interjected, a sly smile crossing her lips. You two think you know everything. Helen is just a friend, Kevin insisted, panic creeping into his voice. Well, the explicit photos suggest otherwise, I shot back. Who even uses emails to cheat nowadays? It's so dumb. How dare you go through my things? Kevin shouted, his anger palpable. No, Kevin. How dare you threaten my daughter multiple times to give you money that doesn't belong to you? How dare you threaten to kick her out of my house? Are you sick in the head? How dare you put your son in your foolish schemes, endangering him? And how dare you plan to use this money for illegal activities? My mom's voice was filled with fury. Kevin stood there momentarily speechless, his bravado crumbling. Now you've got nothing to say, huh? We know everything, and we're going to take you down, I declared, feeling empowered. Get that camera out of my face, Kevin shouted, but my mom stood firm. Suddenly, he lunged at me, a look of rage on his face. My heart raced as I sidestepped him, trying to maintain my distance. His aggressive behavior was terrifying. You want to attack my daughter? It's like you're begging to go to prison. I yelled back, my voice shaking with adrenaline. You're crazy. You know nothing, Kevin spat. Yeah? Well, tell that to the police, who should be here any second now, I replied defiantly. Police? Kevin's expression shifted from anger to fear. Yes, the police. Your behavior today makes me want to call the cops, especially with how you're acting. At that moment, we heard police sirens approaching our neighborhood. I had never seen Kevin look so frightened before. He had always smirked like he was smarter than everyone else, but when he heard those sirens, it was as if all the color drained from his face. Please, Julie, you don't have to do this. I could explain everything, he pleaded, desperation leaking into his voice. Save it for the judge, you cockroach. You disgust me. And my Jason, don't think you're off the hook for this. Both of you are getting arrested. That should teach you a lesson about mistreating my daughter and me. As the police cars pulled up outside our house, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Finally, justice was about to be served. Kevin and Jason's world was crumbling around them, and I could hardly believe that it was all happening. When the officers stepped onto our porch, I felt a mixture of fear and triumph. My mom and I exchanged a glance, both of us knowing we had each other's backs. Let's end this once and for all, I whispered to her, steeling myself for what was about to come. I knew I was just a kid, but I was old enough to understand what Kevin had done, and for that, he needed to be punished. My mom was determined, and I felt a mix of fear and excitement at the thought of finally facing him. Come on, Jasmine. Don't you think all of this is a bit too much? Someone asked, likely one of Kevin's friends, trying to defend him. On the contrary, my mom shot back. It's not enough. As we set up the live stream, I felt a rush of adrenaline. How's our live stream going? I asked, my heart pounding with anticipation. We've got over 3,000 people watching the live stream, she replied, a grin spreading across her face. This is going to be big. Then, with the world watching, she declared, oh, and in case it wasn't clear, I want a divorce. That revelation felt like a bombshell, and the chat exploded with comments and reactions. Over 3,000 people witnessed the entire mess unfold live. Soon enough, the news made it to local newspapers and tabloids, turning our family drama into a spectacle for everyone to see. It was surreal to be in the middle of all this chaos with my sick ex-stepfather and his son, but amidst the madness, there was a satisfying sense of justice in seeing Kevin's downfall. He lost his job and friends, and even some family members turned their backs on him, refusing to speak with him anymore. As the legal repercussions began to unfold, he faced serious charges for all the schemes he had orchestrated. If the judge deemed it necessary, He could spend up to 20 years behind bars. It was hard to believe that this was happening, that Kevin would finally pay for what he had done. The police also found Helen, who had been in hiding when all of this was blowing up. She was facing the same charges, and I felt a sense of relief that she wouldn't be able to hurt anyone else. Life on our side was looking up. My mom and I grew closer due to everything we had been through. On weekends, we often relaxed on the patio, drinks in hand, laughing at how foolish and evil Kevin had been. It felt liberating to share those moments together, our bond stronger than ever. Good riddance, I said with a smile, raising my glass. Good riddance indeed, my mom echoed, her eyes sparkling with determination. We had overcome so much, and I knew we were ready for whatever came next.